Hello and welcome back to my Endor Imperial base toy box along with Finn once again. And this is going to be a continuation of the tours I've been giving of the development of this toy box, the Imperial base at Endor. If you've been following along in my videos, you know I ended up splitting these toy boxes into two toy boxes due to the memory limitations. So in this video, I'm going to focus on the backdoor bunker entrance as featured in the film Return of the Jedi. So the main part of the base, which was in my last tour, was showing the finished product for the build. I haven't come up with any gameplay yet until I wanted to finish this half of the toy box first. So I've struggled more with developing this one. I didn't know quite what to do with it. I didn't want to exactly repeat my Return of the Jedi Endor toy box and all of its mini games. So I did actually pay attention to what that Brown Bat had done with his Endor bunker toy box build. And at least in concept, I didn't follow his design exactly, but I used his ideas and his concept to create an enclosed outdoor arena area. And I have these fantasy terrain trees that I styled to the, what's it called, the Briar Ridge trees. And then using the trigger area trick, I was able to blend in the terrain blocks along the sides. And when you set it to the Endor theme, the sides of those blocks gives you like like tree trunks, like a wooded area. So it works well to create the enclosure for the arena area here. And when I develop the gameplay, it'll follow along, or at least be inspired by the events of the ground battle on the Sanctuary Moon in Return of the Jedi. So there was this dirt path that came up along the right-hand side of the bunker, as viewed from the front of the bunker. So that's what that path is mimicking. And you see the enclosure goes all the way around here to keep players and enemies contained. And running around the hillside here, go up on top of the bunker. Hopefully some of you had the opportunity to follow along with my bunker build video and use it to create your own bunkers, as well as my videos that I showed you how to create the shield generation control room. So just taking a pan around here. And if you did so, I hope you were able to not only use my ideas, but maybe incorporate some of your own original ideas into your builds. So this is the only mini game that I decided to copy from my Return of the Jedi Endor toy box, where a speeder bike moves along this path, and then you have to time it right and use a rolling log trap to destroy the speeder bike, which was inspired by the events of the movie, except in the movie the Ewoks used the rolling logs to knock over and destroy one of these AT-STs. But as you can see, as I go through the logic menus here, you can't attach the AT-ST to a path, so that's a limitation. So I had no choice but to go with the speeder bike to mimic the movie. So then we have the path here coming down the hill that's attached to the logs. That's from building set number 7, Gravity Falls. It's one of the Gravity Falls toys. I'll show you later in this video after the tour how to set that logic up. I'm going to give a tutorial on that. So as we come up the hill here, I have connected to a dynamic trigger to spawn C3PO and R2-D2. I had it set it to 60 units. So this is kind of the overlooked position, mimicking the movie again, where R2 and C3PO were kind of hiding out. It's also a good spy position to overlook the bunker there. So if you're within, the player's within 60 units of the dynamic trigger, they'll spawn, and when you exit the dynamic trigger area, they'll be removed, which helps save a bit on memory. So this is the other back corner here showing the enclosure. I'll probably have multiple waves of enemies, as well as friends to help in the battle. Ewoks, maybe some NPCs that I'll set to teams, rebel NPCs that will help out in the battle. So come back up the hill here. Log here to run on, jump on, create an obstacle to fight enemies. You can climb up the vine here to the Ewok platform. And this is the overlook position with the Brave pressure plate that activates the log trap and sends it down the hill. So if the log trap and the speeder bike meet within a half second of each other, you get an explosion effect, and the speeder bike is removed via the vehicle generator that generates the speeder bike. I also have a lever here that is connected to a logic gate, and the logic gate is what sets everything off. So the lever is not only here for testing purposes, because it'll actually be an event in the game that will connect to the logic gate to trigger this mini game, but I like being able to repeat my missions and my mini games, so I have the lever there so that the player, if they want to play it multiple times, they can. So we have Wicked here as our mission giver, and after you talk to him and he asks you for your help, you get a little radar marker here drawing the player's attention to the pressure plate. And as I said, the speeder bike and the logs have to meet within a half second, and if they don't, if you miss, as I demonstrated here, nothing happens. The speeder bike keeps going on its way, and when you step off the pressure plate, the log trap is reset for the player. And if you get a hit, as this example, you get the explosion and the speeder bike is removed. When I recorded this, I didn't set up the logic to remove that annoying press escape message. I will show that in the logic setup of how to make that message not appear. So we'll go ahead and we'll open our bunker doors here. Dual action logic with the logic gate that I demonstrated in the tutorial video. And we'll run down here and I'll share some ideas of what I'm thinking about, but this is, I think, probably the part of the game that I'm still struggling the most with, of what to do with it, because there's going to be like fighting enemies outside and fighting enemies obviously on the inside, but I want it to be more than just that. That seems just, after a while, it gets repetitive and annoying. So in my original design, this the corridor went off to the left here and then went around to the right to enter the main base. I decided to shorten this up and just make a straight run here, because with the toy boxes separated into two individual toy boxes, the player really won't know that it's too short, because I didn't want to spend a lot of time running around down here. So there's a button there, button casing there that'll connect to a toy box door to load the other toy box. I may not use that for the gameplay, but in exploration mode, I'll probably be able to I'll use that logic to load another toy box, so you can the player can explore both parts of the toy box. But for the gameplay, it probably will have no function. So I have this plate here and a reset button, so when you step on the plate, and that's just for testing purposes, it's not going to remain in the gameplay, and the button is there to reset these Naboo shield generators. But I want to try and come up with a puzzle. Like I said, I wanted to make this more interesting than just fighting enemies. So I got the idea, even though it's not really accurate to the movie, I want it to be more interesting. So trying to come up with an idea of a puzzle with the timing of these shield generators and the use of the terminals maybe to hack the shield generators to shut them down, and as well as sporadically having enemies attack you when the shield generators are deactivated, like maybe stormtroopers that are stationed along the path here to defend the shield generation room. So I'm still working out the details of what to do with that. So if anybody has any good ideas, please leave a comment, because I've actually been working on this portion of the toy box for over a month, and I'm kind of stuck. So if you have a comment, a suggestion, I'm all ears. So No changes here to the shield control room. I had the two-part tutorial showing you how I designed this and how to build it yourself. So once again, just giving a brief look-see around and tour of it. Yeah, I have a trigger area here set to a text displayer. Query if you're ready. If you are, you can open and close the blast doors. And we have our two corridors here where troops came from during the movie. And of course, our
Okay, where am I?
kill zone here with the Papa H
Get another
screen.
chance?
So if you get knocked in there or throw an enemy in there, they'll be defeated and you get the screen. So that concludes the tour part of what I've done so far with the first half of this Imperial Base toy box. I'm thinking I'm pretty much done with the build and just need to figure out what I'm going to do with those shield generators and the terminals to hack those shield generators and how that puzzle and gameplay might work out. So the next thing we'll move along to is I will show you how to build and set up the logic for the speeder bike trap using the rolling log trap. Alright, let's go ahead and start discussing the logic that I used to set up for the log trap to destroy a speeder bike. So I set a path here around my toy box, and I'm not going to show you all the exact positions of the path points, but it'll depend upon the design of your toy box. And we'll look at the properties here for the path creator. So I have active turned on. I set the speed to 200. It goes to a maximum of 300. Looped turned on in order to complete the loop around the toy box. These two are off. And path point options, I set this speed modifier to 300. It goes up to a value of 1,000. And then at each path point along the path, I set that speed modifier to the same speed of 300. And of course you can adjust that to your liking. And I did that speed modifier at every path point along the speeder bike path along my toy box here. So I have the vehicle summoner here and properties. Orient along the path I turned on. You leave that off, and movement style left it to loop so that it continuously goes around in a circle. And it's connected to a locator where I want the vehicle to generate, the speeder bike to generate, so that it can be then attached to the path. And notice the blue dot is facing in the direction that the speeder bike is going to travel along the path. Alright, we have a logic gate to control this. We have a time delayer, and this is set to 1 second. And that 1 second delay is to start the path 1 second after the vehicle's been generated. I have two effects generators here connected to each one is connected to those three locators up here, and that's for the dirt impact effects as the logs are rolling down the hill. And I use two generators just to make the effect a little more visually, make it stronger so you can see it better. Have another time delayer here, and this is the half-second delay, 0.5, and that is for the trap to work. So if the logs and the speeder bike cross these two path points within a half second of each other, then the explosion will occur and the speeder bike is removed. If it's outside of that half-second time delayer, then the speeder bike continues on and the player has to try again. So again, that's the half-second delay that controls whether the speeder bike is destroyed or not. We have a dual action trigger here, and auto reset. It defaults to on, off. It doesn't matter. I left it on. And then we have another effects generator here connected to this locator, and that is for the explosion effect if you have a successful trap of the speeder bike. And then we have a sound effects generator, and I turned the 3D sound off because I want everybody to hear it in the toy box, and I left the volume at 100. So you can set that to your desire as well. We have a target camera up here to view the sliding logs, and cut, use define duration. I turn on. I use 5 seconds. You can make that as long or as short as you want. Glow through I turned off, and it's connected to the connected locator for the camera target, and I left the rest of those alone. And the locator that the target camera is connected to is this center locator right here that I'm also using for the dirt impact effects as the logs roll down the hill. So it's connected to the path creator to move along the path, both effects generators and the target camera. So that locator has those 4 connections. And the toy box properties for this, the speed I set to 300. Orient along the path really doesn't matter. I left it off. And didn't change any of those properties. The forward and backward, I set to 10, the horizontal offset. Now, depending upon the how your and one way and stop for the movement style. Depending upon how your toy box is oriented, your forward and backwards and your horizontal properties for the path creator might be opposite of mine. So in other words, your horizontal might be your forward and backwards. You can see my settings here. And your forward and backward offset might be your horizontal offset. It's just something you're going to have to experiment with in your own toy box. And of course, one way and stop. And I set the speed on all 3 of these to be 300. So 300 off, this time -6 and +10. Again, the horizontal and the forward backward might be opposite. And if you where you have your blue dot pointed, that might make a difference as well. My blue dots are all pointed down the hill. And this is the log pile ramp from building set group 7 from the Gravity Falls place, or from the Gravity Falls set. And the properties on this speed is a little bit slower, 250. I set the locators at 300. I left this off. I set the speed a little bit faster on the locators so that they stay ahead of the log as it moves down the hill, and of course one way and stop on the movement style. So the position of those locators and their speed adjustment a little bit faster than the logs keeps that visual effect ahead of the logs. So the speed on the path itself is set to 300. I turned the auto start objects off, and I left all of the speed modifiers at 100 because I was able to adjust the speed of the log ramp itself versus having to adjust the speed of each path point. So just showing that as that moves down the log or along the path, the visual effects with those locators will stay ahead of it, particularly with the camera view out in front of it. So we have the hang bar here from Gameplay Toys. That's where you also get the vehicle summoner, and the sound effects generator comes from that drawer. And also from Gameplay Toys, we have the Brave pressure plate to trigger it. Have a locator connected to this radar marker. And yellow arrow is the beacon type, and location is the locator, and active is off. Alright, I have another locator here, and notice that the blue dot is facing that direction towards the right, so that's for Wicket. So it's connected to the friend generator, so that the Wicket, our mission gatherer, will be facing the player when we start the mission. So set the Wicket as our mission giver, and set the generation delay to 0. Disable generation effects I turned on, and then under the friend ops I set it to socialize. You could also do stand still. He doesn't really do anything in socialize, but he still will stand still in that socialize mode. Alright, this is the logic gate that is going to set all of this off. And then we have another radar marker here for our mission giver, and that's the yellow exclamation point. That's for Wicket. And it's set to the connected actor, which is going to be Wicket. And I have active turned off again, because we only want those radar markers to work in the mission when it's called upon. We have a dynamic trigger here, and that's set to the connected actor, and a trigger distance of 8. And this is to trigger the text creator, or text displayer I should say, set to 4 seconds, and text style I set to banner. So when you're within 8 units of Wicket, you'll get the text display where he'll ask for your help. So that is the logic for the mission giver, and that's of course optional. You don't have to have a mission giver, but I chose to. So we'll start hooking this up. So when the hang bar is pulled down, we will go ahead and input into that logic gate. Now in the actual game, I'll have an event in the game that will trigger this. So on output, we'll come to our friend generator, and we will generate the wave, bringing Wicket into the toy box. Also on output, we will generate or activate the radar marker for Wicket, the yellow exclamation point. And we need a new actor connection from that radar marker to the friend generator. And we need an actor connection from the dynamic trigger to the friend generator as well. So here, new logic connection when entered by player any. Come to our text displayer, and down to the mission drawer at the very bottom, and we'll say, I need your help. And then this will do several things. So when any text is displayed, or dismissed rather, when any text is dismissed, we will deactivate Wicket's radar marker and make that go away. Also, when any text is dismissed, we are going to activate the radar marker on top of the pressure plate to draw the player's attention to that pressure plate, that something needs to happen there. Also, when any text is displayed, we're going to change, do play looped, and we're going to change Wicket's behavior to jump up to get your attention. And then new logic connection, when that text is dismissed, we'll go back and change his behavior again, play looped, and stand still, or I use socialize. And that stops him from jumping up and down. Alright, we'll hook up the pressure plate, so when this is activated, we will remove its radar marker by deactivating it. Back to the pressure plate. When it's activated, we're going to turn on the target camera. So we'll activate that. Again, when the pressure plate is activated, we will reset and play the path creator so that the logs move down the path. Again, when it's deactivated, we'll come back down to the same path creator and we'll do a reset and stop. So that's when the player steps off of the pressure plate, the logs will reset back to their starting position and they can play it again. So now we'll take this radar marker and set it right on top of the pressure plate, because that logic is complete. No, I tricked myself. It wasn't complete. Move it back out of the way. Sorry about that. So once again, when this is activated, we need to start our effects. So we'll go to these two effect generators, play looped, come down to impacts, and we're looking for the large dirt impact. So we'll set that one. And one last, this should be the last connection. So again, when the pressure plate is activated, we'll do the same thing on this effects generator, play looped, and set our large dirt impact. And again, I'm using two effects for this, just because with one effects generator, it's barely visible. The second effects generator makes it bigger. Also, when the logs reach that end point there, we want to stop the looping effects. Otherwise, those dirt impacts will just keep going and looping. So again, new logic connection. When point reached by the object on the path, we'll come to the other effects generator and stop the looping effects for that dirt impact as well. Now I think I can say with confidence that that logic is complete. So let's test out the log. So we step on it, it activates it, and there goes our log. And once it reaches the end of its path, the dirt impacts the looping effects are stopped. Now up here on the back side, and if you're going to use this logic, you want to have it accessible because it can glitch. So I have a level starter here, and it connects to this toy box maker. So on Catalyze, it will on Catalyze, it'll start the test mode for the toy box game maker. And then I have an action button. When it's pressed, it ends the test mode. And this is why you want this someplace that is out of sight but accessible, because if this toy box maker glitches, you will get locked out. So the only thing I'm doing here is I'm turning off the custom camera canceling. I think I actually turned everything else on. I think they default to off. And the only thing I left off was the custom camera canceling, and that will remove that annoying press escape message whenever the camera view is activated. And again, if this toy glitches and locks you out of being able to edit your toy box, you want to have this button set up so that you can end the test mode and re-engage all the normal editing modes. Alright, so that's how you set up the logic so you don't have that annoying camera message. So again, this lever connects to this logic gate to kick off the mission. So we'll also use this same logic gate on output. We'll come over to our logic gate here. I could have gone directly, but I decided to control it through another logic gate, and we're going to input to that logic gate. I just wanted to keep my logic separate. So on this logic gate on output, first thing we'll do is under Rise Against the Empire, we'll select the speeder bike to generate it. And then we want to connect, new path connection, we want to connect that speeder bike to the path creator. And we already hooked it up to that locator, so that's where it'll spawn into the game. Also, new logic connection on the logic gate on output, we're going to start the time delayer. And this is our 1 second delay. That's to ensure that gives enough time for the vehicle to be generated. So when that delay is completed, now we can come over here and do a reset and play to turn on the path, and the speeder bike will move along the path. Alright, this point here, for when the speeder bike reaches this point on its path, we are going to do input 1 into the logic AND. And for this endpoint for the logs, same thing, point reached by the object on the path. We'll come over here and do input number 2. Also, on the speeder bike path point here, when the point is reached by the object on the path, we are going to start this half-second delay. And that is the half-second delay, the timing device for our collision, for the trap to either work or not work. And for the endpoint for the logs, again, new logic connection, point reached by the object on the path. We will also input to this same half-second time delayer. So on the time delayer, when that half-second delay is complete, we'll come over here and send a reset signal to our logic AND here. Dual action trigger, I'm sorry, it's a dual action trigger. You could also use the logic AND, it would work the same way. So when the dual action is complete, we will play once from the explosions drawer, huge explosion. Also from the dual action trigger, when it's complete, we will generate our sound effect for the explosion. So under action category, come down a short distance and large explosion. We also, when this is complete, we want to come to the vehicle generator and come all the way down to the bottom and say remove all, and that takes out the speeder bike. And a new logic connection when complete, we will come up here and we will remove Wicket from the toy box to save on memory. So defeat the wave. Alright, so that is all the logic for the mission giver as well as setting up the trap. So give it a test run here. So pull down, sends an input signal to the logic gate. Wicket is generated. We get within 8 units of the dynamic trigger. I need your help. And he jumps up and down and then he stops. We get our radar marker on our pressure plate, drawing the player's attention to that. You can watch the speeder bike make its way around the toy box here. And again, if it's not timed correctly, it doesn't meet the half-second criteria of that half-second time delayer, and it's a miss, so the speeder bike continues on the path. And we'll let it cycle around here one more time. And if the player has successfully timed it, two objects meet within a half-second of each other, and the speeder bike is destroyed, removed from the toy box. So, looks like we got everything set up correctly. So, right now the way we set up the logic is through this hang bar to the logic gate. There's nothing that prevents a player from just continuing to pull down on that hang bar, which would generate, each time it's pulled down on, another wicket and another speeder bike, just continuing to add wickets and speeder bikes to the toy box. So here's some logic that you can do to prevent that from happening. I moved all the other logic down below, but using our starter logic gate here in our friend generator, we can prevent that by, on the friendly wave generator, do a new logic connection. When the wave is generated, we will go ahead and close the toy box, or close the logic gate rather. And then new logic connection when the wave is defeated and Wicket is removed from the toy box at the end of the mini game, we will reopen that logic gate. And that will prevent a player from continuously pulling down on the lever, adding more speeder bikes and more Wickets. So we pull down on it the first time because it's open. There we get our mission giver, we get Wicket, and we get our speeder bike, looking for it. There it goes. So here goes our speeder bike. Now if I continue to pull down on this lever, now because Wicket was generated, we close that logic gate, so it won't accept any more inputs. So I can pull down on that lever, on that hang bar, as much as I want, but I only have one Wicket and one speeder bike. So then get within range of him, of the dynamic trigger, it starts our mission. Time it right, boom, we blow up the, destroy the speeder bike. Step off the, and Wicket is removed again. So now that Wicket has been removed, that logic gate is reopened. Now we can pull down on the hang bar and play it again if we want to. So very simple logic to prevent a player from just continuously pulling down on that hang bar, adding more and more to the toy box. And depending upon your memory limitations, that could be potentially a bad thing. And if I've already played around with that, adding more speeder bikes, it just resets it to the beginning point, and the speeder bikes are all on top of each other, so it doesn't look good anyway. Having multiple Wickets doesn't look good either. So that is the logic for our mission giver and how to destroy the speeder bike using a log trap. So I hope everyone enjoyed this tour as well as my tutorial. The great thing about this tutorial is this logic can be used for any moving objects. It doesn't have to be the logs running into a speeder bike to destroy the speeder bike. You could do this in any type of toy box that you create and have a mini game using this exact logic, where you use one object moving along a path to destroy another object moving along the path. And if the player is kind of a weak player and it has a hard time timing it, then that time delay, instead of using a half second, use a second. You know, increase the time for them. And as they get better at it, you can shrink it down to a half second or a quarter of a second. But this logic will work for any two objects, where one object colliding with another object will destroy that object, or you could go a little bit further with the logic and have them destroy each other, where both objects are removed from the toy box. So I hope you find this tutorial not only useful for this application of the logic, but for setting up any type of trap in your toy boxes where one object moving along a path is destroying another object moving along the path. So once again, thanks for joining me. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Happy to respond and read them all, and everybody have a great day.